Hey guys, welcome back to the Friday Vlog, where we discuss activity that goes on here with the BuzWeaver channel. That includes things like current events, headlines that are in the news, social media, pop culture, technology, and items of interest that come up during the week that allow us to have a little bit of a dialogue. If this is your first time here to the channel, I'd like to welcome you guys, or if you are returning visitors and or subscribers across all the alternative platforms, I want to thank all of you guys for your continued support.
Starting things off, guys, I am happy to say that Parler is back online with a new host after Amazon censorship. Now, I don't know whether or not you could say it was Amazon censorship as much as Amazon making a request that John Matz could not comply with. And since he couldn't do it within a reasonable amount of time, because it was just really a ridiculous request of being able to, or having to censor or remove certain groups of individual people, it was just a daunting task. It just couldn't be done within a 24-hour period, and it has to be a justified removal as well. But nonetheless, Amazon still pulled the plug. So the free speech social media platform Parler has relaunched after it was kicked off the internet by Amazon. So I'm happy to say that it is back, and you can find me on Parler under @BuzWeaver. I haven't checked the link below this video to see if that is actually working. I have sent out links to people, and unfortunately, they were telling me that it wasn't working correctly, so I'll have to look into that, maybe redo the link. But the links that I sent out through social media the other day, if you haven't already, guys, you can follow me on the various social medias. They are linked below this video. And speaking of free speech, as we have talked about several times here on the channel about the Truth Commission and or the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, we have this article from the Daily Caller. We haven't really done the reckoning. Freshman Democrat says it's time for a Truth Commission. So Democrat California Representative Sarah Jacobs told CNN's Brian Stelter that she felt it was time for a Truth Commission to root out extremism in the United States. And extremism is code word for the left for anyone who doesn't agree with them. Jacobs made a Sunday appearance on Reliable Sources to talk about the next steps after former President Donald Trump's second impeachment trial ended in acquittal. Oh, the disappointment. The disappointment by the Democrats, who had the majority and still lost even with 12 votes from the Republicans. My goodness. Yes, they all want to be the center of attention again. ABC, CBS, NBC, they want to be the mouthpieces once again who tell people what to think, how to think, and the ways to think, and what opinions we should have. Stelter asked the freshman congresswoman about an interview she had done earlier in the week calling for a Truth Commission, saying, what exactly would a Truth Commission be? Because we haven't really done the reckoning with the racial injustice and white supremacy of our past that we need to do, Jacobs began, noting that Truth Commission had been used in countries around the world. Yes, the United Kingdom and Canada have a hate speech law. And essentially, you can't hurt people's feelings or you'll get in trouble for it. Now, it's completely understandable that if you're harassing someone, badgering someone, or inciting and so forth, of course, that is also an issue here in the United States. But the problem with having, say, hate speech, particularly in the United States, with the tribal warfare that goes on every single day, the slapback type arguments that go on even on Twitter, for example, you would need an entire police force in every single state across the whole United States, and online, the net nannies and the frickin' hall monitors would be outrageous to be able to handle all the complaints. So basically, what it is, it's communities all the way up to the national level having conversations about both the gory and glory of our history and what happened both throughout the history of our country and leading up to and on January 6th, so that we can come to a common narrative moving forward of what we want our country to be, she said. Yeah, in other words, capitulation and completely bending the knee to the left, or else you will have to go to a re-education camp, ladies and gentlemen, a re-education camp, because apparently you have wrong think, and wrong think is wrong. You shouldn't have it. Moving on to Houston, out of KTRK, Eyewitness News, Houston, Texas. It is 24 degrees in Texas right now as of this recording. We can see up here in the top right-hand corner. Eyewitness News, ABC 13, FEMA sending 60 generators to Texas after power outage shut down 30 vaccine sites. Now, I guess they couldn't say that people had lost power, human beings in the state of Texas had lost power. No, they are concerned because people can't get vaccinated. And I can understand that. Vaccination is important, but in the fact that people are unfortunately dying out in Texas because there's no electricity to be able to heat their homes, it seems like that would be more the priority than whether or not they can form lines for vaccination. And of course, the climate activist militants, if you will, the climate change. Now, of course, they had to change it from global warming to climate change because now they can include winter as part of that climate phenomena that goes on. I guess there's a big difference, ladies and gentlemen, between weather and climate. So being able to make those two distinctions is part of the intellectual honesty of understanding what's going on, because you can go out, the left can go out and find scientists. They can send emails to professors or other scientists, as it were, and get some sort of comment which they can editorialize and put their own opinions into it. So, but nonetheless, to all my friends out there in Texas, and I have plenty of gaming guildmates that are out there in Texas, and as I understand it, I saw one of the grid images, and I know at least one of my guildmates is perfectly fine because he is in El Paso. And I think everything there is okay as far as I can tell. But speaking of the pandemic, Democrats slam lying Andrew Cuomo over illness nursing home scandal. What a shame. Now, of course, we're learning all this now after the establishment has put in their surrogate, Joe Biden, who incidentally doesn't really know what's going on. He's not on the same page. So like today he had some issues when he had some kind of, some kind of interview he did with Anderson Cooper. And he kind of struggled through the whole thing, but they always try to edit it to where it doesn't appear as though he's struggling with things. And it certainly isn't just an issue with stuttering, because we can understand when someone stutters versus someone with a cognition problem. But basically what happened here is that Cuomo, of course, didn't present the accurate numbers. And, of course, he's trying to suggest that the CDC had suggested that... let me just say this. He was sent a gigantic, beautiful ship to help them out there in New York. And, of course, they had the big center there, the big arena set up to also handle patients. As I understand it, the arena... only had like 30% capacity. And of course, the ship was used for entirely different purposes. So the question is, what in the world was Andrew Cuomo doing? Well, like all the other Democrat mayors and governors of states, they couldn't be seen accepting any sort of help from President Trump. So they were willing to put people's lives at risk and in danger because Orange Man bad. If they did anything that even remotely looked like they were complying with or doing anything to give President Trump any kind of credit was absolutely beyond their capacity, to the point of allowing people to die. Because as you know, the left would rather people die. They would rather bite off their nose and spite their face than any possibility of being seen as cooperating with President Trump. And it's a sad story, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not saying that. Obviously, I'm being sarcastic and cynical, but by no means am I trying to dismiss the fact that these individuals died because the Democrats, just their egos and their narcissism would not allow them to accept any type of assistance or appear as though they had any assistance from President Trump. They had to look like they were doing it all on their own, and they made some horrible, terrible, tragic mistakes. And speaking of tragic, my mentor in conservatism, the person who kind of influenced me and encouraged me to do exactly what I'm doing right now behind my own microphone. Mine is not golden, by the way, but Rush Limbaugh's was. Rush Limbaugh, conservative talk radio pioneer, dead at 70. We talked about this on Wednesday. I want to thank all you guys for the likes, the shares, and the comments on that video. It was kind of a breaking news story, of course. Rush Limbaugh, an iconic figure in the United States, a part of the fabric of the United States of America. He was an individual that started on the radio in 1988, and he was just one of those individuals that I knew, or anyone would know, would be on throughout the days of the week. It was just kind of one of those things where you could anchor yourself. You could know that, Rush is always there in some capacity. And of course, working from home, working for myself, it allowed me the luxury to be able to listen to Rush during the day. And of course, anytime I was out and about during the day, I would listen to Rush in my car. Of course, if you guys want to listen to the video I released on Wednesday, you know, he is a particular figure, and I don't talk a lot about people that influence my life, but certainly Rush Limbaugh was one of those. He was a champion for conservatism. He stood up to what was then the cancel culture or outrage mob back in the day, because they were always trying to shut Limbaugh down. And he just stood up to them, and that's exactly how you deal with cancel culture. You don't bend the knee. You don't capitulate to any of them. You stand up to them, and you keep going. You keep going on. You keep being strong. You keep being positive. And, you know, all the different articles that have been written about Rush Limbaugh are absolutely phenomenal. They're just outstanding. Of course, there's all the nasty, terrible, disgusting things that people were saying. And it's understandable, because the man never bent the knee to detractors. And he always did a great job, very articulate, very prepared, very professional, always there every single day throughout the week. Of course, he would take vacations and whatnot. And then, of course, as he was diagnosed with cancer, he was getting treatments. But Rush was a true professional, an inspiration to me. Partly why I'm doing this commentary right now is because now we have the ability to speak our voices as conservatives, because Rush was one of those single voices out there even before Fox News. You know, Rush Limbaugh was the guy with as many as 20 million listeners, not only throughout the United States, but throughout the world. And then as the internet came out, more people would listen to Rush throughout the entire world. I would have people in foreign countries ask me, you know, do I catch the Rush Limbaugh show? And I'm like, yeah, yes, I do. And so it's amazing the impact that he has had. But Rush Limbaugh is an icon in the United States. Love him or hate him, he was an icon. He is part of the fabric of our country. I mean, the man started his radio program in 1988 and was able to go through all the way till now, till 70 years old on the radio. So shout out to Rush Limbaugh. What an amazing individual, an inspirational individual. Just you know, probably inspired many of the people that that you see today, the people that you follow on the internet, or maybe some of your favorite talk show hosts, or anyone that you follow in any sort of conservative radio or conservative show. Rush Limbaugh definitely at the top of that list of influences in our culture. You know, and culture is very important here in the United States because the left dominates so much of the culture. But Rush Limbaugh was just a figure there. He was never a reporter. He was never a journalist. He was a commentator. He was an entertainer. And he was a brilliant marketer, too. I mean, he just had amazing marketing skills, great PR. He had a charity for children. I don't recall what that specifically was, what it was off the top of my head right now. But he had a charity drive that he did every year. And just a tremendous individual who was very generous with his time, very generous with his money. He even did... was it Family Guy or whatever the cartoon television show I think it is, where he voiced the character for Seth Rogen, which was really kind of neat. Rush Limbaugh, of course, dead at 70. He's going to be very missed. And yeah, it was just one of those individuals that I just knew was always going to be there throughout the week if I just kind of wanted to ground myself into reality. And okay, here's Rush, here's his show. He's consistent. He's there every week throughout the week. But nonetheless, yeah, Rush Limbaugh, conservative talk show radio pioneer, dead at 70.
All right, guys, so that's going to wrap it up for this Friday vlog. Thanks again for your continued support, your likes, your shares, and your comments. This is all across the alternative social media as well as primary mainstream social media. Thank you guys for your continued support. It's always appreciated, especially in these particular times. And of course, you can find all of the links to my various social media below this video, but of course appearing right there on the screen, that would be the channel icon for you guys here on YouTube. You can click on that to subscribe, as well as select notifications if you want to know when there is content here on the channel. And I will see you guys right there behind the camera next week.